Okay, now at this part of the course, we are going to study descriptive statistics. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of an intro on this module. Here, I have a big blob of data, and these are NFL Super Bowl scores. I don't know how up to date this is. It probably doesn't have the last 5 scores or so, but anyway, this is the score of each team, and it's just kind of a mess of data. And what we want to do in Module 2 is describe the data. All right? Well, if I look at it like that, what am I going to say? Well, I can say that I see a 55 in there. I see a 16. It's not really doing much for me just to look at it like this. But if let's just say I've got the same data in a column here, because to make calculations, Excel, you need a column. So let's just say I'm going to look at the average of that. All right, it looks like, okay, I just calculated the average, and it looks like 30.22 is the average NFL Super Bowl score. All right, so what does that tell me? Like, if I'm going to make a bet, I might say I'll guess a team might score 30. I mean, that's a lot of information now that I didn't have before. Right? 30 is a statistic. All right, it's a calculation from that data, a function of that data, and it's telling me where the center is. That's the center. It's a central point of that data. And that one data point is telling me so much about that data that I would never have gotten had I not made that calculation. You can imagine, this is only, 50 points or so? You can imagine if I had millions and millions of data rows, records, how valuable is it to find the center of the data like that? Well, I could, let's say, what's the max? Let's see what the max of that data is. 55. All right, that's so a good bet would be like in the next Super Bowl, a team is not going to score above 55. They could, but it's just not likely. Right? That's the highest ever. So once again, a small calculation. It tells me so much about the data that I couldn't have known had I not started to do some statistics on it. All right. So these two things are helping me to describe this mess, and that's what Chapter 2 is all about. If you remember in that first video, we're going to graph this. Graphing is one of the best ways to learn what the data is. Which data point is the most frequent. We're going to use a histogram to do that. So if you graph the data, that would really be informative. Just quickly, maybe I'll just do a histogram real quick here. Can I insert? And I'll just let Excel draw it for me. All right, so here we go. Now, look how much of this is telling me. It's saying most teams are likely to score between 23 and 32. And there's just a few out here. It looks like there's just 2 teams that have scored out on this end. So even better if you can graph the data and get an idea. This is called a frequency distribution, right? The heights are counts of the data that lie in between these 2 values. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at where's the center of the data, how spread out is it? All right, is it all bunched up, spread out? Where are the quartiles, like the first 25%, the last 25%? How much data is in those areas? So anyway, that's what we're going to do in Chapter 2. And we're trying to learn as much about the data as we can by doing statistics on it. We're going to take the data and do some calculations on it and help us really get to know what the data is about.